You decide to come forward with your story?
I wanted to speak out and not stay silent about it anymore. It was his way of showing his power over us and our careers, and that he doesn't have a problem with just one of us all.
For the first time, sharing allegations of workplace assault and harassment, claims that Tyler Perry denies. But Dixon says he's speaking out now to try to stop a billionaire who won't stop themselves.
Tyler Perry, the man who rose from homelessness to billionaire status and built an empire hailed as one of the greatest success stories in modern Hollywood, now finds himself at the center of a scandal so explosive it could bring his carefully constructed legacy crashing down. Just days ago, the FBI stormed his Atlanta mansion in a raid that eyewitnesses compared to a military operation, with agents in black SUVs swarming through his private gates and carrying away boxes of files, encrypted hard drives, and what insiders claim might even be video evidence. To the public, Perry was a symbol of resilience, a man who broke barriers, built his own studio empire, and gave opportunities to actors who Hollywood had ignored. But behind those gates, according to shocking new allegations, was a world far darker than the glossy films and inspirational speeches. What did the FBI find hidden in those walls? What secrets could be buried deep inside those encrypted drives? And more importantly, is this the beginning of the end for one of Hollywood's most untouchable moguls? Before we dive deeper into the story that has social media in meltdown and Hollywood insiders panicking, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our deep dives into the scandals the entertainment world doesn't want you to know about.
And I said, stop, I don't want to be naked, I don't want this. And he was just like, no, I'm not gonna hurt you, and just continued. And in that moment, unless someone's been through something where they have their control over their bodies taken away, you don't really understand the kind of feelings that you get in that moment. It was almost like every thought came through my head to run.
Tyler Perry.
Yeah, I met him at his studio opening party in 2019. I was working for an events company, and we met, and he said to me, are you an actor? And I said, well, not right now. I'm working on it, but not right now. And he said, yeah, you are. We need to talk. You should get my number and we'll...
Because what you're about to hear will change the way you look at Tyler Perry forever. At the center of this storm is actor Derek Dixon, best known for his role as Dale in Perry's BET drama The Oval. For years, Dixon remained silent, but now he's come forward with allegations that paint a disturbing picture of life inside Tyler Perry's empire. According to Dixon, what started as mentorship quickly spiraled into coercion, intimidation, and abuse of power. He recalls meeting Perry in 2019 at the grand opening of Tyler Perry Studios, a star-studded event that was supposed to represent a new era for Black Hollywood. In Dixon's account, Perry approached him directly, asked if he was an actor, and pressed his number into his hand. To any aspiring performer, this would seem like a golden opportunity.
He has said, turn around so I can look at you, and just commented on how I looked, and then he got up and left. So I thought after that instance, it was pretty clear that I was not interested in that type of a relationship. It was very, very strange. I mean, I think it's okay that people try to make a move or shoot their shot, but if they get rejected, I think that they should. We're over his house. We're having some drinks in his guest house, and it was late at night, and he has a guest quarters, and said that you can sleep there instead of not driving. And his house is far from Atlanta and where I was living. And I got into bed, and then I noticed that he climbed into bed with me as well, and started rubbing my leg. And I jumped up out of it.
The kind of chance encounter that changes lives. And at first it did. Within months, Dixon was cast in The Oval, playing Dale, a character who quickly became central to the drama. But according to Dixon, from that very first meeting, the relationship with Perry became personal, invasive, and eventually toxic, with the lines between professional guidance and personal control blurring in ways that would leave him feeling trapped and powerless. Text messages, now plastered across court documents and TV screens, allegedly show Perry sending messages that veered into deeply inappropriate territory. Phrases like, "What's it going to take for you to have guiltless fun?" and "I would hope that you would let someone hold and make love to you," painted a picture of a man blurring boundaries, using charm and power to pressure someone whose career was entirely in his hands.
What kind of a toll would you say that this has all taken on you?
I was extremely anxious. The calls got to a point where the calls and texts were almost every day. Just this constant state of like, if I don't answer, I will lose my job.
Dixon described living in constant anxiety, feeling like if he didn't answer texts or calls, he could lose his job. The tension escalated further during nights at Perry's mansion. Dixon recalls one evening in 2020 when Perry invited him over for drinks, told him he could sleep in the guest quarters instead of driving home, and then later climbed into bed with him uninvited, rubbing his leg and making suggestive comments. Dixon says he jumped out of bed in shock, making it clear he wasn't interested, but instead of the advances stopping, the situation worsened. By the end of Season 2 of The Oval, his character Dale was suddenly written out, shot 4 times in the chest, a decision Dixon interpreted as both a punishment and a warning. For Dixon, the harassment wasn't just emotional, it carried terrifying financial stakes. He claims he lost nearly $400,000 when he finally stepped away from the show in 2024. Worse, Perry allegedly retained the rights to a comedy pilot Dixon had written, ironically titled Losing It, cutting off what could have been another opportunity. Dixon's lawsuit, which demands $260 million in damages, isn't just about compensation. As he explained, how do you stop a billionaire who won't stop themselves? His decision to speak out has already cost him professionally, but he says staying silent would have been worse, and he's not alone. Since the lawsuit became public, Dixon has received messages from others, some supportive, some threatening, and some from people who claim to have their own stories about Perry. For many, Dixon's courage in stepping forward is what cracked open the wall of silence surrounding one of Hollywood's most powerful figures. Then came the FBI raid, the most cinematic moment of this saga so far. Witnesses described the scene as surreal, with agents in blue jackets swarming Perry's estate with the precision of a SWAT team. They carried out box after box of files, encrypted hard drives, and even equipment hidden behind false panels. Neighbors reported that even the security staff looked shaken, and whispers began circulating immediately about what the agents had discovered. According to insiders, some of the most chilling finds were secret hard drives hidden deep inside the estate, locked behind security codes, and concealed by false walls. These weren't typical studio backups. They were deliberately hidden, camouflaged, and encrypted. What's on them remains tightly guarded, but speculation ranges from surveillance footage of employees, to emails, to potentially incriminating videos. The rumor mill suggests the FBI has already uncovered files so sensitive that even veteran investigators were stunned into silence. The impact of this scandal is spreading far beyond Perry himself. Hollywood insiders are panicking, with rumors of a so-called silent list circulating, a covert blacklists that actors and crew allegedly whispered about for years. According to multiple sources, this list cataloged who was cooperative, who was considered difficult, and who owed favors or kept secrets. In an industry where one man's approval could make or break a career, such a list would be devastating evidence of systemic control. Former collaborators are already distancing themselves. Alfonso Ribeiro, who once directed episodes for Perry, has publicly declared he wants nothing to do with him. Agents and executives are quietly checking old contracts, worried that deals they made years ago could now come back to haunt them if the FBI uncovers proof of complicity. Hollywood thrives on silence, but now that silence is cracking and the fallout could be catastrophic. What makes Perry's empire particularly vulnerable is how centralized it has always been. At Tyler Perry Studios, every script, every line, and every decision flowed through one man. Perry famously prided himself on writing every script himself and keeping full creative control, but now that model looks less like genius and more like a shield, one that allowed him to rule without oversight. Former writers have spoken about being replaced overnight for raising concerns. Actors whispered about being erased from call sheets without explanation. Crew members reportedly kept their heads down, knowing a single misstep could end their careers. For years, these stories were dismissed as the eccentricities of a powerful creator, but now they read like warning signs ignored for far too long. Dixon's lawsuit has already triggered others to consider stepping forward. Civil attorneys are circling, FBI agents are cross-referencing texts and matching timelines, and whispers of other victims are growing louder. Social media has exploded with speculation, with hashtags trending and conspiracy theories running wild. Even documentaries are already being planned, with one project tentatively titled Surviving Tyler Perry reportedly in production, aiming to gather first-hand accounts, leaked documents, and new allegations. The entertainment industry, which once celebrated Perry as a trailblazer who opened doors for Black creatives, is now reckoning with the possibility that those doors led to a trap. The fallout has been swift. Brands and networks that once fought to partner with Perry are now carefully distancing themselves, refusing to comment or issuing vague statements about taking allegations seriously. Just a year ago, Perry was in a bidding war to acquire BET. Today, he's fighting to protect his name from being permanently associated with one of Hollywood's darkest scandals. Even his closest allies have gone quiet. The phones at Tyler Perry Studios are switched off. His lawyers have set up what insiders describe as a war room. Employees whisper about NDAs being shoved in front of them. Panic has replaced the once unstoppable confidence of a studio that was hailed as the future of Hollywood. And yet, the most important question still hangs unanswered. What exactly is on those encrypted drives? If the rumors are true, they could contain surveillance footage, confidential settlement documents, and communications that prove Dixon's story is just the beginning. Some insiders whisper about evidence that could implicate not just Perry but others who enabled him, protected him, or looked the other way. If that's true, this scandal could expand far beyond one man and shake Hollywood's power structure at its core. As the FBI continues its investigation, the story grows darker, more tangled, and more impossible to ignore. Each day brings new leaks, new whispers, and new fears. Will this be the case that finally holds one of Hollywood's most powerful moguls accountable, or will Perry's lawyers succeed in burying the truth beneath layers of denials and settlements? The industry is holding its breath, insiders are scrambling, and fans are left wondering if the man who built an empire on stories of redemption will now be remembered for something far more sinister. One thing is certain, this story is far from over and the walls of Tyler Perry's empire are beginning to crack. What makes this scandal even more unsettling is the psychological grip Perry allegedly held over those around him. Former insiders have started speaking anonymously, describing the environment at Tyler Perry Studios as cult-like, where every decision, no matter how small, depended on one man's approval. Some staff members claimed they were terrified to even ask questions about pay, contracts, or schedules, fearing that being labeled difficult could end their careers overnight. Others described a culture where actors felt they had to accept whatever came their way because opportunities in Hollywood were scarce, and Perry's studio was often seen as a last hope for struggling performers. The imbalance of power was staggering. On one side, a billionaire mogul with endless resources. On the other, young actors and creatives chasing dreams, easily intimidated into silence. In this environment, Dixon's allegations take on an even darker tone because they reveal how absolute control can be weaponized against the very people who relied on Perry for survival. And with whispers of hush money, NDAs, and backroom deals emerging from insiders, the fear is that Dixon's story might be just one of many, hidden under years of silence. The final piece of this puzzle is the uncertainty of where it all leads. If the FBI's investigation confirms the worst suspicions about what was hidden inside Perry's mansion, Hollywood could be facing a reckoning unlike anything it has seen before. Executives are already bracing for fallout, calculating whether to cut ties quietly or ride out the storm. Actors who once proudly attached their names to Perry's projects are now scrubbing mentions from their social feeds. Networks that once saw Perry as a guaranteed ratings draw are now worried about their association with him. The question is no longer whether Tyler Perry will recover, it's whether Hollywood itself will acknowledge how such behavior could go unchecked for so long. The industry has a history of burying scandals, but the FBI raid, the encrypted drives, and the growing list of allegations make this case impossible to sweep under the rug. As each day passes, the tension grows heavier, the speculation sharper, and the sense of an inevitable collapse more real. Tyler Perry built his empire on stories of redemption, but the story now unfolding may not end with a happy resolution, and for the first time, it's not Perry writing the script.